People, deluded. I swear I was finishing doing the vids and things like that. I promise you I was finishing doing the videos and them things, people. But I've seen Eddie Nketiah has been linked with Charlton Athletic. Now, we might as well speak about it briefly and quickly, and I'm not going to take up any more of your time. Before I start, at the end, obviously, comment, subscribe, like up the ting and everything. I'd love to hear your opinions with Deluded Nation. But in regards to Eddie, first and foremost, there's no smoke without fire. We know he clearly is aging the club, putting the feelers out. He needs to go out on loan. Obviously, for depth purposes, he could stay initially at the club as he did last year, but he needs to go out on loan and play football. He's been previously linked with Bristol, who allegedly were watching him at the Toulon tournament, where he scored a couple of goals. He's obviously a young player scoring goals for fun at youth level, still trying to find his feet at senior level. And he's someone that needs to go out on loan and play football. For me, if he's not going to get games here, he has to be at a side where he has a realistic chance of training week in, week out and playing on the weekend or whenever the fixture's playing, because he's 20 years of age now. Lovely that he scored against Burnley. Lovely that he scored against Burnley at the end of the season. A touching fit for all his hard work, and that's what all of us dreamed of at one moment in time. Yes, he's a professional footballer, but one day he was a child, another IC3 youth from South London with dreams of being a footballer. He needs to work hard, but it's nice to see that's a touching fit and it gives him motivation to work more. But the amount of times he's travelled with Arsenal to the amount of times he's played and got minutes, there's a weird correlation. There's a sort of misguidance sort of thing going on there, people. And minutes is currency. We can talk about young players and they do benefit training, and I don't feel everyone necessarily needs to go out on loan, people. Some young players benefit, I feel, staying close to the squad. Probably like Foden at the moment. Yes, he would bang on loan, but you get the point. But he needs to play. There's only so much of that you can do. Training with Aubameyang and Lacazette, seeing what they do in training, playing against the centre halves at first team level. There's only so much you can do. Minutes is currency. And sometimes we've been chasing games. You've seen Kohler come off the bench, a left back, to obviously do his thing in the attacking half. Eddie's been left on the bench. So if you're a striker and your team's 2-0 down, whether you're experienced or a young G, you're looking at it like, what's going on? You don't want your team down, but you want to come on and make the difference, as he did a couple years ago against Norwich or whenever. It hasn't happened. So for depth purposes, he's stayed and whatnot, and he's got minutes against Blackpool. Didn't have the best of games, but he's still learning and developing. He needs to go somewhere where he can play. Obviously, with Wells' injury, he still didn't get minutes. So does Emery necessarily believe in him, or does he feel he's ready? Possibly not. Who knows, people? Again, he's still developing. The sad thing is that fans will call for him, and then 10 games, you don't know what you're going to get from Eddie, because he hasn't been given that opportunity. He's still learning and developing. You can't get experience without being given the opportunity. To be linked with Charlton is a good move for him, with Bristol as well. Obviously, Charlton, they've had Mavididi, who had a good season there as well. They got Bielik at the moment, and they've had a couple more of our players. Sanogo even went there. I swear Coquelin went there and then came back. So Charlton are our guys in this, especially out of all the London teams. We've got bare pagans and that in London as being an Arsenal fan. Charlton seem to be the cool ones. They always take players off us and they don't mess around. They play the players, and they've been promoted. So it's a good opportunity for them to play in the Championship week in, week out, deal with the scrutiny of their fans, as Bielik did as well. And he could speak to Bielik. He's probably not got a bad word to say about the club. Bowyer signed a new deal there and hoodwinked everyone, so there's some stability at the club. He might relish that, playing week in, week out. As much as we love Eddie, and I'm saying he's young and he needs chances and time and stuff, Charlton fans aren't going to care. You have to hit the ground running. They just see a young player, or they just see a striker coming into the club, and you need to score goals. That's a good thing. Obviously, for a young player, that's good and bad, because if he's out of form and there's also pressure on the manager, he might have a good first game, an indifferent second, underwhelming for 2, and then he's out of the game for the next 4 or 5 match fixtures, and he's coming off the bench, and then before you know it, it's not the best of loan spells. That happens in football, people, especially for the more technical based players. Like Willock will cut his teeth in the Championship, but if I'm him, I'd probably want to go to Germany more. But staying to Eddie's still improving. He's still got a lot to work on. For instance, I feel he's a good runner into the channels and things, but he needs to work on playing with his back to goal a bit more, purely because that's not the striker you describe him as. He can do it, but I feel he's got to do it to a greater standard. Either way, he's got to be playing week in, week out. For me, I believe he should go to Germany. We know he had the move lined up to Augsburg or wherever. And I think Werder Bremen actually were interested as well. Forgive me if I'm wrong, if I remember. Before the move was blocked, obviously he was needed for depth purposes. For me, you need to go to the top league, man. There's no better thing. It seems like the German clubs know how to develop players, and they take their time with the players, and they're not rushing them. And the coaches have the competence to know sometimes they're going to be good, sometimes they're going to be underwhelming. I think playing in the top division, playing against defenders in the top division, no disrespect to the championship, would be very good for him. Now, and plus, if he was to go to the championship and bang and score 20 goals, as silly as it is, people say it's just a championship. He'd need to go on a top level loan. If he does it in the top league, he might get more leeway at Arsenal. Of course, if he has one good season or a decent season on the goal front, he needs to repeat it. So for me, top level, you can't get better than that, people. We play against different sort of teams and oppositions and stuff. Playing in another country will allow him to get away from the hype of all of this stuff as well. But by the same logic, you look at Tammy Abraham. He went on loan to Swansea. Now, the team weren't the best, and he didn't have the most best of form. He went into the championship with Aston Villa, and has he been somewhere else, people? I could be wrong, but he's done his thing in the goal front, or having more of a positive loan spell, and he's now more bullish about his chances of Chelsea. Of course, the cloud of doubt remains as to, well, with some quarters of Chelsea fans, as to whether he can do it in the top division, and he might get the opportunity with their transfer ban. But there's a lot to consider for Eddie. Now, Charlton, like I said, first and foremost, regardless of top league, non-league, whatever division, they have a proven track record of playing our players. So that's already a green tick. Lee Boyer, there's some stability. They've given him a new deal. Again, football results change things, and football is a funny game, but there's a tiny bit of stability there, so he might be putting into a good environment. I think Charlton play decent football, and their fans are quite receptive. I've got a mate who supports Charlton. That's how I was able to keep a close eye on Bielik. Obviously, because he goes to the away games. Like, I'm not going to lie, I'm not going to Charlton, for instance. I don't even know if Scunthorpe are in League One. Forgive me, people, but I'm not going Charlton versus Scunthorpe. He is in it. He's a madman like that, but I'm not going to that, in it. So it's a good club, and there's a lot for him to consider, because there must be other clubs interested that we don't know about. Now, it'll be interesting to see what happens with other strikers, because you've got Balogun, who signed a new deal not too long ago, probably looking to try and push him into the 23 side next season. You've got Tyrese John-Jules, who, if I was him, I'd be trying to play first team football somewhere in the not too distant future, if not in the summer, possibly second half of the season. You'd like to think Tyrese, the club, are going to take him pre-season, and he would fill in Eddie Nketiah's spot in terms of what Eddie was doing this year, travelling with the squad and things like that. So we'll see how it develops. And I'm sure Eddie's got more offers that we don't know about, and he's got a lot to consider. For instance, I'm clearly on Charlton's side here, but Bristol have been linked with him for almost a year now. So then, and I think it's the same manager. So that shows you intent and shows you he wants you. If the manager wants you, you have half a chance of having a positive loan spell. For me, if I was him or Eddie's advisors and things, I'll be telling him to go to Germany. But I think what's most important for Eddie is that he picks the club, if these rumours are true, which not only is going to play him and give him chances in the right project, but he does what he wants to do. So whether it goes good or bad, touch wood, it's a great loan spell, he can say, I wanted to do it, because I feel young players there's a lot of pressures and a lot of ears and mouths in their ears and a lot of messing with their consciences and making them believe things are one thing and then it's the other. There's a lot of manipulation, and I'm big on just in life away from football. If you're going to do things and experience success or failure, people, you kind of did it because you wanted to do it, people. You didn't let people doubt you. You didn't let someone push you into that queue when you knew in your heart you didn't want to do it. And apologies, people. You knew in your heart you didn't want to do it, and you still went along with it anyway. So I wish Eddie all the best in whatever he chooses to do, people. He could very well, for all we know, choose to stay at the club, and they might have put apologies for shaking the screen. Emery could have said, yo, listen, next season you're going to play a bit more. Who knows? From what I see as a fan, I think Emery is that he will play the young players and let you train with the first team, but I think he likes you to go out on loan first and foremost, cut your teeth, kind of come back with assurances, versus Wenger. You know how Wenger is, poetry in motion and things like that, or other people. So we'll see how it develops, people. But for now, I'm going to kick out. I've already wasted a lot of your time and I'm about to have a coughing fit. So people, Deluded, I'm out. As you can see, I'm about to go on the madness.